WPG Talk Radio 104.1 presents Ask the Mayor. It's your opportunity to talk directly to Atlantic City Mayor Don Guardian. Call 407-1450. Now with Mayor Don Guardian, here's Harry Hurley.
Good evening and welcome to what promises to be a very exciting episode of the Ask the Mayor program. How do I know that? Because every single one is. The timing of every one is on a pivotal day, and I've come to the conclusion every day right now in Atlantic City is pivotal. So if we did it tomorrow, there'd be something else big that was happening. I mean, for example, at 4:30 this afternoon, thereabouts, the mayor announced his campaign for re-election, introduced his three running mates for council at large. We'll talk about that as we open things up. We're certainly going to talk about the Senator Jeff Chiesa memos to all Atlantic City police officers, sergeants, lieutenants, captains. We'll get into that. And just as a programming note, I spoke with Senator Chiesa less than an hour ago, and he will be with us tomorrow morning at 7:30 on Hurley in the Morning, just as a programming note. Mayor Don Guardian, welcome to your program, Ask the Mayor.
Hey, thanks, Harry.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
What was it an exciting opportunity to have? Because 4 years ago, you ran for mayor. You didn't have a slate, right? Or did you?
No, I did have a slate.
You did have a slate.
I didn't pick my slate. I mean, the Republican Party did. I certainly was part of that. But, I did have a slate.
So tell us about the announcement. How did it go?
Yeah, so it was great. It was cold, just like the Democratic candidates that I'll be running against. It was cold and windy. We were in the breezeway, though. So, it was between the buildings outside the City Hall. So it wasn't bad if you were in the sun. Once you were there for a little while, the wind cooled down. It was nice. A nice 150 people came out. We had the different communities represented, and I was really glad. So, Poet Laureate from the Bangladesh community spoke, and we had someone from the Latino community, and certainly the police and fire each came and spoke as well. And then my neighbor, Shelley, who had introduced me last time around, asked her to do it one more time.
Good luck,
things
charm.
like that. Yeah, good luck, charm, and things like that. And she says, just give me the points or write the speech. Says, no, just speak from the heart. You're good, and things. And that's what she did. I was very grateful.
Phone lines are going to open in just a little bit, 609-407-1450. We're going to end the program tonight right before the clock strikes 7. We usually can have an extra 5 minutes, but the Philadelphia Flyers are playing the New Jersey Devils, and that starts right at 7 p.m. After the Philadelphia Flyers, New Jersey Devils, you can catch the end of the Michael Savage show. And again, we'll go to bed. We'll have dinner, go to bed, and we'll be right back 11 hours or so from now for Hurley in the Morning TGIF, a jam-packed program. Tom Cantone at 7, Jeff Chiesa at 7:30. We've got a nice panel with Bill Elliott at 8 and National All-Star Senior FBI Agent Gary Aldrich in the 9 o'clock hour. So in terms of you right now, I'll ask one more election-type item.
Sure.
Then we'll get into a lot of the important issues, and certainly citizens are going to want to call in at 609-407-1450 and have their opportunity to ask the mayor your question. I do have an email question from Atlantic City taxpayer Karen that I will be sharing in just a little bit. But, Mayor, in terms of you and how you feel you are positioned as a candidate for re-election, what are your thoughts?
What I'm doing is I'm going to run on my record as everyone else has to. My candidates on the Democratic side have been there for 8, 12 years, and so I think it's going to be examining what we did and where we are, what decisions did we make. I mean, these are 4 tough years that I've gone through, bloodbath somewhat for Atlantic City. I've been very happy to be there, but I think I made some good decisions, and from the very beginning, no matter how hard it is dealing with the state and getting beat up on all the other areas, we're always trying to plant seeds to build Atlantic City forward. And truthfully, in the last 6 months or so, all of that work for development has come through, and you actually see cranes in the sky, and you see the concrete being formed, whether it's housing or college or corporate offices. And just today, I was thrilled. Christopher DeWalt, it's DeWalt Brewing Company, just got all of their funding in place this afternoon, and so we'll have a full-scale brewery. So it's not a brew pub. If you want good craft beer, we We got that at Ton Tavern. I don't think you're going to get better than that. He's not paying me. Monty's not paying me to say that. I just think he does a great job. But this is going to be a full-scale brewery. So 100 people, they're going to be making brewing, bottling the beer, and distributing it. And they're going to have a small tasting room. But that's just another small area. But we need that. You know, every couple of weeks I need to have another company coming in with 100 employees, tax-paying. So it's real good to know.
Candidate future President Ronald Reagan said in 1980, "Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago?" And he built that, basically a tabernacle around that, and made that his campaign theme, that if you were better off than you were 4 years ago, he invited you to vote for his opponent. How do you respond to that question?
Yeah, so what happens is I'll say that, and you've heard me before, I don't blame my predecessor. Not because he's your good friend. I just don't do that. I'm saying 50 years of decisions that we should have made differently, and I blame all of us for that. So everything came tumbling down during the last 4 years, but I was there to rebuild it. I don't think anyone is going to be able to rebuild it better than I had. And the steps that we made, whether it was cutting budget or staffing or bringing in new development or finding jobs or building housing or repaving roads, all of the things that I'm supposed to do as mayor, we've done. I just didn't have the money to do that going forward. And now I want to be there so that we're going to continue this turnaround. But Atlantic City is going to be better than it was during the casino days because we're going to be much more diversified and have a lot more jobs for Atlantic City. And as you know, everyone's got the buzz now where a year ago everyone is saying, well, we got to do stuff in the county because Atlantic City's never coming back. Now, you know, with 3,000 jobs alone at Hard Rock, when Bart Blatstein announces what he's going to do, I'm certainly hoping that we have good news with Atlanta Club, helping them with the financing because an indoor water park is right on the money for extending our season.
And I'm not putting this on you.
Yeah.
Was that announcement premature? Because I bid for it, too. You know, there's been a lot of these things over the years in Atlantic City, even predating long before you were mayor, where these grandiose things would be announced, everybody gets all excited, and nothing happens. This announcement comes out. I think the very developers kind of got jumped on their own news. Then they come out the next morning, but now it looks like the financing is not even in place. Was that announcement premature?
It may have been. They initially, the group that I met with originally were for Beta Field. And just for a myriad of reasons, not their fault, our fault, there's no way we could deliver what they needed at the time. Much bigger development. It's kind of like, you know, do you do the Taj, do you do the Revel? Taj is a more successful project. Atlanta Club will be more successful. I think if they're out in Beta Field, you would drove in and you drove out of town. Here, you're going to attract casinos and businesses. So they certainly have the funding to be able to buy the Atlanta Club. I know that the Beta Field project cost them several $100,000. I'm not overestimating that, to have those architectural renderings and business plans, etc. So it's going to be, what is the cost of money over the next 6 months, Harry, really? And that's going to be it. So, you know, are they going to get low-cost money or is it going to be high? If it's going to be high, they're not going to do the project. If it's low, it's going to be good.
We're going to get to our callers in just a little bit. Let me follow up on this. We talked earlier in the week to Councilman Tibbet.
Yeah.
He said he was okay, he's in favor of a pilot. And I think that's a great thing when you can have something that otherwise wouldn't happen, a payment in lieu of taxes. I don't really think it matters what you call it as long as someone's contributing, you know, to the city coffers. So the pilot, Councilman Tibbet had no problem with. What he had a problem with would be if they get a pilot, then they seek public funding for the project, and then they pay their pilot payment with the public funding. Councilman Tibbet didn't like the sounds of that. What are your thoughts?
So, I mean, no one's coming to Atlantic City for a big project unless you're going to get what's called ERG or Grow New Jersey, 2 programs depending on the size. But the state of New Jersey basically says if you come to Atlantic City or Camden, Paterson or Passaic, we're going to give you about $10,000 to $15,000 for every job you create for every year you have it for up to 10 years. So that's in sales tax that you don't pay. So that has to come now. Every city is giving you, I shouldn't say every city, the Philadelphias and the Jersey cities are giving you no tax for 10 years. Can't afford to do that because of my taxpayers. But what we can do is a pilot, or what we can do is the 20% phase-in, because if you do that, if you pay only 20% of your taxes, then 40, then 60, then 80, and it's year 5 you pay 100%, we don't pay the schools and we don't pay the county. So normally you'd only get 45%. 25%. So 20% is not good, 40% you're almost even, 60, 80, and 100%, bingo, you've made it back. So over 5 years, that type of funding makes sense for us because it's creating jobs and it will bring permanent funding.
You're listening to Atlantic City Mayor Don Guardian today, just a few hours ago, declaring officially his candidacy for re-election. We're going to introduce in just a little bit the three running mates by name on the Ask the Mayor program. The mayor will have an opportunity to talk about his three running mates. The four of them made their campaign announcement in Atlantic City beginning in the 4:30 hour, and the mayor got here in plenty of time to be ready to go for his program. 609-407-1450 phone lines are open. We go to Jimmy, who has a question for the mayor. Welcome to the program, Jimmy. You're on the air.
Hi, Mayor.
Hey, Jimmy.
In 2016, New Jersey Monthly reported the Atlantic City was number 2 in violent crimes per capita. In other words, one violent crime per 42 people makes, that's Atlantic City's the number 2 in the state. You indicated when you were running for mayor that you were going to make Atlantic City cleaner and safer. We've got the bullet detection system, the cameras, the casino surveillance. How come this hasn't happened?
So first of all, I have to tell you that those FBI statistics, even the FBI admits, are so unfair for a city like Atlantic City. You only compare on crime based on your population, which is 40,000 people. They're not considering the 25,000 people that work in the casinos, the 20,000 people that work in the city that don't work into the casinos, and 100,000 people that visit Atlantic City every day. So Atlantic City, how do we know these numbers? Because every couple of years we stop 6,000 cars on the expressway, and we actually ask the people in the car where they're going and what they're doing. So the numbers that you see based on those statistics are based on 40,000 when they should be based on 160,000. If you give us the true daytime population in Atlantic City, we're not even on the charts. Having said that, every city and every town's got to be safe, and you've got to feel comfortable. And so the money that we spent with the technology, and you got the shot spotter is great, but that doesn't prevent someone getting shot. It finds you after the shot has went off. And all the cameras right now, and you can see this, that the rate of success of solving a crime is up to about 98%. It used to be at 20% before all of this equipment. So what happens is you'll see that more and more criminals are going to realize that you just can't get away with it in Atlantic City. And it's becoming pretty prevalent in the last year or so. So you have more cameras, you have the police doing a different job, and the way they measure crime is completely different. It took us a couple of years, but we just had the old surveillance where an individual patrol car would find a particular section of town and drive around. Now we're finding crime when it actually exists, and we're redeploying the staff, the police, to where crime actually occurs. So you're doing a lot better job that way as well. So what I wanted to tell you that it's unfair when you talk about crime that way, or when you compare us to other cities for whatever the costs are, unless you're looking at the real daytime population that a city has. So crime is never going to feel safe until your daughter, your wife, your husband, your child feel safe on that street, and we're always going to work on that. But this is a party town. We're always going to have 160,000 people there. Casinos have a lot of crime within their walls that we have to take care of. It's part of doing business. It's tourism economy.
Jenny, anything?
Okay, thank you. Can I ask another one?
Go real quick, then we got to get a break in. Go.
Okay, former city solicitor Jason Holt. He's now working for the state. Do you think that's a conflict of interest? And I'll hang up and listen.
Yeah, so I certainly don't like the whole concept of the state takeover. The state was pretty clear. They were going to make the business administrator a state position. Period. So I guess the choice we had is, could Jason Holt be that person, and a person that I worked with that understands exactly what has to be done, whether the state is here or not, who has the experience of East Orange and South Orange before he came here, or do they fire him? He goes back to North Jersey, and I get someone that doesn't know anything about Atlantic City. So I have to tell you that I'm okay that it's Jason Holt doing that position. I could have done a whole lot worse. Yeah. Jeff Case is a nice guy. Not happy with what they're doing to us there, but it could have been a lot worse. So with Jason Holt, he's in a tough position, but I'd rather have him knowing what Atlantic City needs and living in the city for the last 3.5 years than someone that has no idea what Atlantic City needs or anything about municipal government.
Ginny, thanks for your question for the mayor of Atlantic City, Don Guardian. The program is Ask the Mayor. This is Harry Hurley. The station is WPG. We're on Talk Radio 104.1 FM, 1450 AM, everywhere at WPGTalkradio.com. When we come back, we're going to be talking about Jeff Chiesa. I'll briefly tell everybody what we talked about an hour ago, he and I. He's coming on tomorrow morning during the 7:30 to 8 o'clock portion of the Hurley in the Morning program. We'll give you a preview of that. And a few hours ago, the mayor introduced and appeared with his 3 running mates, Stacey Camerman, Paul Tonacci, Ron Bailey, who I'm going to get to meet. Some of them I have met before, but we're going to get to meet them during the break, which begins right now. If you have a question for the mayor, and I know you do because you are standing by, you'll be next when we come back at 609-407-1450. You can do what Karen did as well. You can go to WPGTalkradio.com. You can send your question in through our website. You can also use the hashtag AskTheMayor, and we will check our Twitter feed, and you can pose your questions digitally as well. We'll be back with Atlantic City Mayor Don Guardian and Ask the Mayor on WPG in just a few minutes.
WPG Talk Radio 104.1 presents Ask the Mayor. It's your opportunity to talk directly to Atlantic City Mayor Don Guardian. Call 407-1450. Now with Mayor Don Guardian, here's Harry Hurley.
Thank you very much. Welcome back. 24 minutes past the hour, and we're compressed tonight. We don't have that bonus 5 minutes. We are ending right at 7, so if you want to get in, call in right now. We do have an open phone line, but not many. 609-407-1450. Mark is coming up next, followed by Ernie, and you can follow at 609-407-1450, as several people have already done. Mark, welcome to Ask the Mayor. You're on the air. Go right ahead.
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, Mayor.
Hey, Mark.
Congratulations on your announcement. Good luck.
Thank you.
I just want to ask you, Mayor, knowing what you know now after 3 years of being in office, and you just said that you don't appreciate the fact that the state has come in, and most residents of Atlantic City agree with that opinion. They don't like it either. They see it as something that's hostile and certainly not in the best interest of the city of Atlantic City. Would you have reconsidered bankruptcy because that would have given you the control to do the things that needed to be done rather than leave it in the hands of the state? I'll hang up and listen.
Yeah, so Mark, it was very clear from the state of New Jersey, Atlantic City and any other municipality cannot declare bankruptcy by themselves. You have to notify the local finance board in Trenton that you intend to file bankruptcy, and then they can deny you. If you override them and declare bankruptcy, they declare it non-existent. So it's really the local finance board of the state of New Jersey. That's not true in other states, but I can tell you, whether it was trimming the $50 million from the budget, which we're going to continue to trim, or whether it's the $50-60 million we now get in state aid, and certainly the few positive points of having the Chiesa law firm here is we needed help because we can't settle Borgata or MGM debt or any out of our other debt without the state backing up our bonds. So that's what they need to do. But you're going to see by the time we're finished this year, we're going to achieve what we would have achieved if we had to go through bankruptcy. So the givebacks from the police, the fire, from blue-collar and white-collar workers, and then the givebacks from Borgata alone so far is what they would have received through a bankruptcy.
And Mayor, I know Mark's question was, did you consider it? Yes. I know from all the hours and hours of interviews I did with you.
The answer is yes.
You did consider it.
Oh, absolutely. And I never took it off the table. Yeah. And I have to say now it would be foolish for me to say it's off the table. It seems so far away. And in some cases, the state was so mad at Atlantic City that they considered it. But everybody that the governor sent down here, honestly, was an expert in bankruptcy. And so I'm not foolish. You send Kevin Orr from Detroit down here, and he walks away and says, doesn't make sense. You send Kevin Lavin, he spends a year, says bankruptcy doesn't make sense. You have Ernst & Young actually plotting why a bankruptcy would make sense, and they come back and they say bankruptcy doesn't make sense.
All the experts agreed that a workout was the way to go.
all of them said the same thing.
609.
You got it. You make those tough decisions, make the cuts, get some state aid.
609-407-1415 open phone line. Ernie, welcome to Ask the Mayor. You're on the air with Mayor Don Guardian.
How you doing, Mayor? I think you're doing a great job under the circumstances you were handled. First part of my question is, there's rumors out there that second quarter taxes are going to take a 13% tax hit. And the second part is, where is the city at with privatization of the trash? I'll hang up and listen.
Yep, sure. Two great questions. The first part is absolutely not on second quarter taxes. You're just not going to see it. We can't deliver a budget. I think the date is April 23rd or 28th. It's the end of April that the state just told me this morning we're going to be able to announce our budget. But we really can't do that without four key items from the state. COMTRA, which they're telling us is $20 million, needs to be confirmed. Transitional aid, which was $26.2 million last year, they're going to drop us to $13 million. We need to confirm that. $14 million from IATs at CRDA and $15 million from the ACA. And then what percentage is the city going to get out of the pilot from casinos? Once we have that, then the income we have is going to be sure. On the other side, when I say that we cut $30 million, we are running the city in March as if we had $30 million, actually about $35 million less than we had last year, $55 million less than we had 2 years ago. So we're taking all those steps so that when we actually do have the budget, we have a balanced budget, doesn't have a tax increase. Now, the state is not willing to tell us that yet, and yeah, they could screw with us once again, but there's no reason. Last year, you had a tax increase that the state imposed after we said we didn't need it because we had a balanced budget, and I'll tell you exactly what happened. They raised $6 million for taxes. They cut a $6 million in transitional aid from what they were going to have, and at the end of the year, we had a $6 million surplus. So even with the $6 million cut and forcing all of us to pay a property tax increase, that tax increase ended up as a surplus, was never needed to be done. And where before I came to you and I said my first term, I never said I'm going to not charge taxes or reduce taxes. I said I want to lower the cost of government. That's what I continue to do. But now, these next 4 years coming up, we're going to reduce taxes for property taxes. The second part of that is trash and recycling. We just got the approval last week officially from the state of New Jersey that we can move ahead with trash and recycling. And so I can tell you that we bid this out back in September. We were ready to go. The highest of the four people that gave us the price would be the county of Atlantic. The city is about $100,000 less than the county would charge us. When I say county, it's ACUA. Yeah. And then there's a private hauler that came in at $1,100,000 less than the county, $1 million less than us, and then the lowest bidder was about $1.1 million, $1.2 million less. That's who we're going to go with. Right now, we're just getting the approvals from the state because there are 24 positions that we're not going to need from people that did trash and recycling.
Mayor, can you honestly state to your residents, your taxpayers, that you'll save this million or whatever it will be, and their trash collection will not be adversely affected?
That's correct. So the bid was written professionally. We used people that did this up in North Jersey because it's common in New Jersey to sue when you do a bidding process. So first of all, they've already hired away all of my CDLs, my commercial driver license people. They've hired them away because they're paying them $8,000 more a year than the city was paying. And it's just how private business does it. I mean, they can do it for a lot less than us. So you're going to have a professional, both companies are all over New Jersey. You see their trucks.
And the
it's going to be the
companies
same trash.
Typically bring your employees on board so they don't lose their jobs?
They do, but we probably have, I think right now, 14 positions that are opened, that we kept open in Public Works, so we can offer 14 people jobs there and things like that. So that's what we're working on. But you should see that in probably 60 days. It's as quick as we can move it around now. But we just were discussing that with the state today, and they're going to be talking about it tomorrow.
Do they use your apparatus, or do they bring their own
They bring
Radisson.
all their own. Yeah, everything
Do you
is
sell
new.
yours?
We sell all of
So
ours.
you make more.
Right. So we never took into account either the selling of our equipment or the reduction in maintenance cost for that equipment. We just did a straight bid, which was how much it's going to cost for salary, for workman's comp, for cost to keep the employees after they leave our employ. What is the cost to run and maintain a truck?
And so there's on top of what there's another substantial
but
six figures
it's
on
smart.
top of that.
But smart. So we lost 3 months
True.
of this, and
Yeah.
next year you'll be your first full year of savings. But this year you'll still see a good chunk of money.
609-407-1450. With regrets, I'm going to call our next caller anonymous because I didn't want to ask a third time. It was overmodulated. I couldn't hear the name. But it is you. You were on the air. Go right ahead. Yes.
My name is Jasmine Gonzalez.
Okay. Good evening.
How are you?
Good. You're on the air.
Okay. I want to tell you that thank you for the support the Mayor Guardian have for the Hispanic community in Atlantic City. And I would like to know what plan do he have for the Hispanic community in Atlantic City.
Thank you.
Yeah, so as you know, one of my running mates for city council is Hispanic, and one of my other running mates speaks Spanish fluently and had run a program there. I think that we have to be very protective of our immigrants, of our Latino community, and we can do a better job by running job placement programs to make sure as the thousands of jobs that opened up become available to people that are Hispanic, and if that English as a second language is difficult, that we continue what we're doing at our PAL Center, which has English as a second language, and then if they're first-time immigrants to the United States, that we're helping you get in touch with the consul from Mexico, from Honduras, for Dominican Republic, for whatever country you come from, to help you become American citizens as well. And then, of course, it's working with the Hispanic Alliance and the organization we have here for Dominican Republicans from Dominican Republic to assure that as a city we do everything to make sure that Latinos are comfortable and that have a good life in Atlantic City and are not discriminated against. On a personal note, you can see as we hire police and fire that we go out of our way to make sure that's representative of the city, and that includes Latino hires for police, for fire, and we're making sure that those promotions include Latinos as well.
Mrs. Gonzalez, thank you for your call. Have a good night. Bye now. 609-407-1450. I love this next handle. It is not just Larry. It is Citizen Larry. And when I put him back on hold, 10 minutes ago, I said, all right, Citizen Larry, I'm Citizen Harry. And you are on the air with Atlantic City Mayor Don Guardian. Hello, Citizen Larry.
Hello, Citizen Harry.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'm a long-term, many-year resident here of Atlantic City, and I, for one, thinking of this upcoming choice for mayor, to me it seems to be just an absolutely no-brainer. I mean, any person you can think of that might be your opponent, there's no comparison between you and them. Your bona fides, your qualifications, your good intelligence, your good ability, it makes it so that really we citizens of Atlantic City should really just be thankful, be grateful that there is such a good qualified guy such as yourself to run for mayor. Just let me highlight one outstanding thing about you that I very much like, and it's in contrast to a certain previous mayor. This is namely this. According to my observation, you seem to be governing and directing Atlantic City like in a purely unselfish way. It seems that your only motivation in governing Atlantic City is to have the best interests of the city at heart. No ulterior motives. You're not loading the place up with your family members, your relatives, friends, cronies. Also, you're not doing it like just to feel important or for your own self-aggrandizement. But it seems like you honestly and genuinely, sincerely want the very best for Atlantic City. So I want to commend you, compliment you, and say thank you to you for you're putting yourself up to be our leader, and you came in a nick of time to save us, to help us, to make us prosper. Thank you very much. Mayor Don Guardian is the best.
Citizen Larry, have a great night.
Larry, thank you for those kind words. I really appreciate it.
Very nice. It's 37 minutes past the hour. More of your phone calls. And Karen, let your heart not be troubled. I promise I'm going to get your email question, because I've had Karen's email question since about lunchtime today, and I put it in my briefcase. I have it right here. We will give the mayor your question, just like you were an on-air call-in. When we come back in just a few minutes, it's Ask the Mayor, the award-winning, twice defending Best of the Best New Jersey Broadcasters Association Best of the Best program in public affairs, 2 years running. Ask the Mayor with Atlantic City Mayor Don Guardian. I am Hurley in the evening on WPG Talk Radio, 104.1 FM, 1450 AM, everywhere at WPGTalkradio.com, an open phone line for you at 609-407-1450. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Stay with us.
WPG Talk Radio 104.1 presents Ask the Mayor. It's your opportunity to talk directly to Atlantic City Mayor Don Guardian. Call 407-1450. Now with Mayor Don Guardian, here's Harry Hurley.
Thank you and welcome back. The program always flies by. It's already 44 minutes past the hour, and we are signing off in 16 minutes. This is from a guest listener, a citizen taxpayer of Atlantic City by the name of Karen. She actually put her whole name, but it reads as follows, Mr. Mayor. In July 2013, your campaign circulated a letter calling the 22% tax increase at that time, quote, an outrage. What term do you put on the 86.6% increase that I have received as a homeowner during your term in office? And what, if anything, are your plans to ensure that it does not happen again if you are given a second term? To clarify, my question is not just why I received an 86% increase already, but what are you going to do about it going forward? Karen, thank you for your question. Mr. Mayor.
Karen, very fair. I'm a taxpayer too. If just to be clear, over 5 years, your county taxes went up 51% in Atlantic City. Your city tax went up 85%, and your school tax went up 161%. Granted that it's a smaller percentage of your total tax bill, that's the tax increase you had received. You're absolutely right. I said the 22% before I became a mayor was outrageous. The taxes that you've increased since that time is also outrageous. I walked into the door on January 3rd, and I was faced with a tax increase of 40%, with 3 or 4 days before we actually meet with City Council. All I could do was ask for transitional aid and lower it down to 29%, still outrageous. And then, of course, last year we had no control with the state doing another $6 million tax increase. What I can tell you now is the good news is that the 3 leading candidates for governor, I think almost anyone is going to say one of those 3, one on the Republican, 2 on the Democrats, is going to be our next governor. All of them says that they're going to lift the state takeover and they're going to work with the city like they do other urban areas. I'm telling you, we're going to decrease your taxes. We're going to get between $30 and $40 million from the state of New Jersey, depending on the plan, for our school system. And I can assure you, we're not going to be buying cars or renovating offices in City Hall. You're going to see every penny of that go back to taxpayers. That's about $1,200 for every $100,000 of assessment you have. Number 2 is you got to feel the momentum that finally we have a lot of new development coming to Atlantic City. Some of them are paying a decreased tax. They're paying a pilot, but that money all helps Atlantic City. And you'll see that money that will balance the city budget. So even if we have increases, that money is going to make sure that your taxes do not increase. And that's my goal. After 4 years, I've got the experience I didn't have last time to be able to say that we could reduce taxes. Now, I'm pretty familiar with almost every aspect of the city, and if I don't know something, believe me, I sit down, I spend a couple hours, and I figure out how we're sweeping trash or how we're vacuuming cleaning up garbage that's in the sewer system, and we try to find a less expensive way. So additional reduced cost to city government is going to ensure that you're not going to pay taxes, and new businesses coming in will do that as well.
What about if Atlantic City does better? And I believe that Atlantic City is on the path to doing much better financially. More tax rateables, more business coming to Atlantic City. It's going to be great, both casino and non-casino alike. But the state has had a propensity for when you do better, they just short you in transitional aid, and then nothing changes.
Right. So, Harry, about $13 million is where we are with transitional aid. So, we're anticipating that this year, and then you'll see 15% less each year, maybe more than that. What we'll see is an increase in the IATs from casinos because some of the debt that's being used with that money is going to flow to the city starting next year. You have the $6 million from last year that we didn't spend, that we actually use in the 18 year. So I think we have some flexibility for the first time that we can wean ourselves off that transitional aid. What key is the Contra aid that we're going to get for the next 20 years. So long after I'm gone, the city will still be receiving those funds. And then the latest, I don't think anything will happen, but you know that I'm against tax increases, period. And so it was tough, even with that $2 room tax. Room tax, it'd be bad because no one's doing well in Atlantic City, but I understand that the Assembly is considering taking $2 from the existing tax and give it to Atlantic City. That one's a win-win for everyone.
That'd be an earthquake.
Yeah.
That'd be earth-shattering.
Absolutely.
They've never done that.
I know.
I'm going to go one step further than you did. You said it's down to 3 people. Unless my good friend Joe Piscopo jumps in.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I believe it's between 2 people. Phil Murphy is absolutely going to steamroll. Look, he knocked out 2 guys named Steve without even firing a shot.
Right.
Steve Sweeney.
Strong. And both Steves were very strong.
And Steve Fulop. My gosh, they were both very, very strong. Everybody said it's going to be between one of them who will be the Democratic nominee. It's going to be Phil Murphy, so I'm taking one of your Democrats out of play. And it's if Joe Piscopo doesn't run, it's automatically at this point Kim Guadagno. And with all due respect to Assemblyman Chittarelli, and I love the guy, I think he's a prince, he's a great guy, but Kim Guadagno will be the Republican nominee. Out of the 2 of them, how likely do you think it would be that very early in their tenure there would not be a takeover of Atlantic City? They would call this thing off, and you would have solvency again, or the ability to be independent and to be able to, to manage not under a state takeover. I don't think that's an unrealistic scenario.
No. Phil has said that the first day he becomes mayor, when he's sworn in, he's going to stop the takeover. I'm sorry, as governor. And he's not going to be punitive. That's the key part. You know, it's no good moving out of here and then, not giving us Comtra or not giving us other state aid or help and things. And Lieutenant Governor Guadagno has been incredibly supportive of Atlantic City as much as she could as lieutenant governor. If she had a little bit more freedom, if I didn't make enemies with the governor so early on, I think the lieutenant governor would have been able to move some businesses beyond that. What I think you're going to see, Harry, here's my opinion now, is the governor has prevented major corporations, developers coming from Atlantic City. People have jumped over that. So people have come to Atlantic City now, as you see the big boys, the Buais, the Jack Morrises, the Joe Gingolis, certainly Jim Allen, the Bart Blatsteins. Now everyone's saying, we can't wait just because they don't want to do it in Atlantic City. Now's the time to jump in because it's ripe for some development. So I think you're going to see, we're going to have a couple of great years where you're going to be, I'm going to be coming on your show and people are going to be complaining about closed streets because of the cranes and the construction.
You're going to be like Donald Trump saying, we're getting sick of winning.
Yeah,
We're going to get sick of winning.
Yep, that's okay.
Let me ask you this one, because this one is a firm but fair question. How would you respond if it's an opponent that says it, or me asking you the question right now, that your adversarial relationship with Governor Christie made him further drop the hammer on Atlantic City, and that you were a detriment in with respect to that, and it was worse on Atlantic City because of poking the top dog in the state.
Yeah. So first of all, unlike other people I've fought with the governor, we didn't have anything in CompTrade. Now we get $20 million a year. We're going to be down to $13 million this year. We never got $13 million before. And we've got the $15 million coming from ACA and the $14 million from IATs. So about $60 million there probably is not a worse relationship between a mayor and a governor than myself and this governor. We're still getting $60 million from the state. Second part of that is I'm a diplomat. I'm a manager, I'm a coordinator, I'm a recruiter and things, but at some point you got to fight. And when the governor took on our police department, that's really what happened. This is what this is all about. We had no fights until he wanted to get rid of the police department and do a county police department.
In a story that I broke on Hurley in the Morning, I was pretty proud of the work. I was able to read in their entirety. We posted them on my social media platforms and at various other media entities around the state that picked up on our breaking news. The two memos, the letters from Jeff Chiesa to the police officers and sergeants, and then the second letter to the lieutenants and the captains. And I want to give you an opportunity to talk about those because those are some of the biggest cuts, in the state's history probably, in terms of not since Camden, where everybody just got fired and then, hey, if you want a job, you got to reapply, and here's a new salary. How do you like it? It's staying a city force at this time, but with dramatic cuts in salary, additional work hours, overtime changes, 86 hours in 14 days, sick day, bust that all up. And there's a lot of things in here. Tremendous increase in copay for prescription, tremendous increase in contribution towards medical health benefits. And just as an aside, a programming note, Jeff Chiesa and I spoke about an hour ago, and he will be on Hurley in the Morning tomorrow at 7:30 with his take on why this has happened. But Mayor, for your part in all this, what do you think of this dictate that came down?
Too drastic and unfair. The police department, and that includes the PBA and the senior officers and the fire department with the IAFF. This isn't some union that's out of control, that's screaming and cursing and telling you they're not going to take any cuts and that they want raises. Of the items that you mentioned there, the majority of the items that are in that letter, the police department were willing to do. They were willing to cut more cuts than they ever took before.
Were they willing to take the exact salary cuts?
No.
Okay, so I just want
to
make that clear.
I do want to make that. Yeah. Now, that's where I'm going to go, Harry. So on 8 or 10 of those items, police were going to do that, and that was cooperatively and voluntarily and stuff. How did you not lose that by not talking with them? The issue is, should they be taking a 25% cut? No, that's unrealistic. They were already saying that they were willing voluntarily to take a 5% cut. State wouldn't even consider that. Now, that's one issue. Number two issue that I really have a problem with, and I usually defer to the chief and other people that are experts, but this is common sense. If you are hurt on duty as a cop, it's really bad. You're in the line of duty. We've got to pay you your salary while you recuperate, or you go into permanent disability. What they want to do is cut by 30% the amount that an officer that is hurt in the line of duty takes home. They're going to lose the home over that because in most cases it's usually the wife. I'm not trying to be sexist here, but more cops are male than female. A male cop gets hurt and he has to go on disability. He needs his wife to help him. That's workman's comp. That 30% is unrealistic for them. And then to cut 24 police officers is really bad, especially since the way it would be done is you would take the last in. So the lowest paying guys, these are $45,000 a year police officers. They're young, they're out there, they're the ones on patrol. To lose them makes absolutely no sense. So that's the problem that I had. The police were willing to negotiate. They should have had a fair share. I don't think they did, and the firefighters already went through arbitration once. So what's happened now? You have 3 branches of government. We all learned this in, I guess, 6th grade, and the judiciary usually doesn't have a whole lot to do other than the courts, and we think of parking tickets and people that do bad things, but sometimes they've got to intercede. And in this case, both the firemen and our police officers have gone to the court and said, Mayor Cooper, you know what, we give up, but this is not right. We want to protect our cities. There's no blue flu. We're not calling in. We're not asking for raises. We're not even asking not to make all these cuts. But what they're doing is so drastic that it's going to affect public safety. And so the one thing the state cannot do, the state does not have the right to be unreasonable. So even with unilateral control, the question is what they're doing reasonable or not? The courts are going to decide. In the meantime, in the police and fire's defense and AFL-CIO, tomorrow at City Hall, we're going to have a press conference, and they're going to unlay out a whole plan. And where they've been very quiet and taking beatings from the state, they're going to now do major press releases on what was said, how it was said, what they're doing, what other police departments are getting paid. So you're going to get the real information. They're going to be putting that in the paper, on your show, on all the other radio shows as well.
What's pretty extraordinary, in my time as a broadcaster, which is now 26 years, there was a time when I used to speak about 440 police officers.
Yes.
440.
Yeah.
If this goes down, it would be 265?
265. And
and I'm talking about a time even almost before casinos.
Yeah, so at 275, 276.
Yeah.
We're scheduled for 285. We have 270 now. We have less than we had when we did not have casinos.
Final minute or so. I want to squeeze this in. What
Sure.
do you think about it taking 15 years to get to top pay as a police officer in Atlantic City?
I'm okay with that. They're okay with that.
They're okay with that.
That was a good negotiating point.
Okay.
The 15 steps, 45 to 90. Yeah, it's tough. But that's what I'm saying is these guys are giving you everything you want. And what I was doing with them, I said, I'm not just doing this to get reelected. I don't need the cuts now. I need cuts 10, 15, 20, 25 years down the road.
Mayor, do you remember you used to get to top pay in Atlantic City as a police officer in 3 years?
Yeah, of course.
Then it was 5.
Right.
Then it was 7.
Then 10.
10.
And now 15.
Wow.
And the firefighters at 15 too. Yeah.
Do you know, I'm not saying you're the Amazing Kreskin or anything, but do you expect, because they've gone too far, that actually they will win in court? Do you expect the police and fire to win?
I think that Judge Mendez is one of the fairest and smartest men that I know. And so, I think he is reviewing all of this, and we're going to have to go with his decision. But I don't think it's going to be purely punitive
Again,
for
just
police and
speculation.
fire.
Do you think now that he's dealing with the police as well,
Yes.
that he may hold the fire decision and do both of them?
I'm not going to speak for the judge. Smart guy.
That wouldn't be unreasonable.
Fair guy, not
Because all of a
unreasonable
sudden,
at all.
If you go one way,
Yep.
it almost would be
Harry,
that's the way the other one's going to go.
Yeah, Harry, I want to say, police and fire didn't want this. They didn't want to sue the state. They were forced to do it because negotiations broke down. There should have been compromise, and there wasn't.
Mayor, thanks for a great show. You heard from Mayor Don Guardian. Ask the Mayor. We'll be back with Mayor Guardian Thursday, April 27th, 6 o'clock hour, our next Ask the Mayor program.